Hi, my friends. I am popping in today because I wanted to share a little story that it occurred to me recently acts as a good analogy for what some of us might be experiencing right now. So bear with me as I tell the story. A number of years ago, I'm going to say probably maybe 17 years ago, um, here in Canada, so where I am, which is Southern Ontario and sort of northeastern US, there was a massive blackout where all power was lost. We had no power, and depending on where you were for days, it could go on for days or a week, depending on where you were. So there was nothing. There was no power. There was no bank machines. There was no gas stations. Like everything, the whole grid was down, and there was obviously no warning. It just happened. And as I recall, it was on a Friday or possibly a Thursday, and I was at work. And at the time, I was working for a bank, and all of a sudden, just everything went down. And I was towards the end of the day, and I worked right downtown in the city, and I normally would take the subway car, train, underground, home. And of course, all of that wasn't working. So it was just this sudden, like, what do I do? How do I get home? And so it was interesting to witness how I responded to this situation and also to watch what happened. So I right away left, and at the time where I was living in my house, I just had a few pets. I had a dog and a couple of cats. I didn't have kids. I wasn't married, but I needed to get home to my pets. And so I just had this intense, like, desire, need. I just knew I needed to get home. I needed to get home. I needed to get home because I couldn't leave them. A lot of people, what they did was went out to bars and restaurants, booked hotel rooms because all of those places had generators. The restaurants needed to use up their food. So a lot of people just went out to bars, sat on patios because it was August, it was summertime, super warm. So a lot of people just did that, went out on patios and had food and drinks and whatever. But I was like, I have to get home. I have to get home. I have to get home. It was like a beacon. And it wasn't just even about my pets, but it was also, I had this need to just get home, be in my space. And so I left and I started walking. I started just heading north because I lived north. I just started heading north. And like I said, it was summertime. I wasn't, thankfully I wasn't wearing high heels. I was wearing low shoes, but they weren't exactly good walking shoes. They were nice shoes for work, so I wasn't really super comfortable walking. And I also have some mobility issues. So that was an issue, but didn't even cross my mind, just started walking. As I went along, heading north, so all in, it took me 4 hours to get home. I'll just say that. But I'm going to say maybe 45 minutes in, I bumped into my stepsister on the street. So that was fun. We had a brief chat. She was heading west because that's where she lived. And so brief chat, kept walking. And as I went along through the various communities of the city, which I normally wouldn't see because I would be on a subway car underneath the ground. I was passing through all these different communities within the city, and I would see people outside talking to their neighbors because it was still light out, playing music, having drinks, having fun. It brought everyone out of their houses. It was this sense of community because it was this common experience that people were having. Of course, there was no street lights, so there was police officers trying to direct traffic. There was traffic chaos, but I was just watching more the community and the people that were coming out of their homes and talking to their neighbors and all that kind of thing. As I continued north, when I was nearing home, it was almost 4 hours and I was beyond exhausted. It was still light out, thankfully, because it was summer, but it was starting to get more dusk. And all of a sudden, this big SUV pulls up beside me, and a window goes down, and I hear, "Donna?" And I look, I'm sort of bleary-eyed at this point, And it was a woman who I had worked with at least 10 years before. And I hadn't seen since then. And she said, "Oh my gosh, where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I just live up there." I was literally 2 blocks from home. And she said, "Get in, we'll drive you." I was like, "No, I'm almost there." And she said, "Get in," because she could tell I was probably ready to fall over at that point. So thankfully they drove me those last couple of blocks. And I was very grateful. And I got home and I was just really happy to get home, just be in my space, feed my pets, all the usual things. And so the reason I am sharing this, because it was one of those things that if you lived in this part of the world, you knew where you were the day the big blackout happened. You knew where you were. It's like all those big pivotal moments in history. And I was reflecting on that. I think I was actually telling a story recently to somebody, and I was reflecting on it, that it has a lot of analogies. You can draw a lot of analogies to how some of us might be feeling right now. Sometimes we can feel like things are dark, and we're disconnected from home, meaning home is our connection to ourself, to our soul. And our soul is at one with the universal consciousness. And sometimes we get disconnected from that, and we feel like we are disconnected from ourselves, or out of touch with ourselves, with our soul, and away from home in that sense. So when you find yourself feeling that way, i.e., away from home, it's about getting back to you. When I say you, it's not the human you, the personality you, it's your consciousness, that eternal part of yourself that that is always there, your higher self, that has your always your best interests at heart and is there to guide you. It is a quiet voice. So in order to hear it, we need to get quiet. That's why meditation is a great tool. But if meditation isn't for you, there's lots of other ways to just kind of get quiet and get centered and listen to that voice within. You can do breath work. You can go for a walk, gardening, crafts, anything where your mind can just wander. You can go within. Coloring is another great one. I like to color. So anything that kind of brings you back to yourself. So that was the main message from that story. Another one is, as you're journeying home, pay attention to the light, meaning I was choosing to look at, the sense of community that I was seeing versus, the craziness and people honking and trying to get around and getting angry. I was just disregarding that and focusing on the people on their porches playing their music. And just innately did that. So it's a reminder to do that as you're journeying. And another analogy is finding your tribe along the way. So I bumped into my stepsister. I was, came across the woman that I used to work with, or she was put in my path, really. Those people along the way that, may or may not have a message for you, may journey with you for a while. They're put there for a reason. They might just be a momentary connection, and that's all it is, which is great. So that's another aspect of the message in that story. And then another aspect that I thought of was there were times in that 4 hours, and it took me, keeping in mind, it took me a lot longer to make that walk than it would for others, because like I said, I do have mobility issues, and I'm not a fast walker, and I have both hips replaced. So it's not an easy journey for me physically. But my, what's the right word? My focus on getting home, and secondly, just putting one foot in front of the other. and I didn't think too much about anything else. Getting home, one foot in front of the other. I didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm getting so tired, or if I had thoughts like that, which, honestly, I can't remember, but I'm sure I did, I shoved them out of the way because I was relentlessly focused on getting home and just putting one foot in front of the other. And sometimes in life, that's all we can do, is just put one foot in front of the other. So that's back to the present moment. That's being in the present moment. So when we look too far ahead, you want to have a focus on where you're going, but also detaching at the same time and just being mindful to just be in the moment. When we focus on too far ahead and trying to figure out with our heads what's going to happen, or how long will it take us, or when will we get there, or, if there isn't a bus coming, like I'm just using the story here. But you can see what I mean. Then we get stuck in these loops that are not helpful. So it's back to present moment, one foot in front of the other, trusting and having faith that everything will work out as it's meant to, as it always does, and that we are held, and that you are more than capable. You are powerful to get where you need to go, and to get home, to get back to what it is you're trying to get back to yourself. I could have thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to make this journey? Like, this is painful, am I going to do damage to my hips? Like, I could have gone to all kinds of places. I didn't. I was one foot in front of the other, get home. That's it. That's all it is. So sometimes that simplicity is what we need, and that reminder to be in the present moment. I think that was all of the messages in that story. There's a lot there, and I hadn't really realized it until I shared it recently with a couple of friends, actually. And they saw the funny moments, they saw the bigger picture that I hadn't really seen. So I'm thanking them for pointing that out to me. And I thought I would share it here because if you're seeing this, then I fully have faith and trust that you're seeing it for a reason. So blessings to you. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to comment on it, share it. Please subscribe. This is a brand new channel, so I am stepping out of my comfort zone a bit to post messages that I think will be of benefit and helpful and inspiring and motivational and focused on connecting to who we are as a soul. And if you need more specific one-on-one support, I am here for that as well. And I will post the link to my website below. It's donnahenderson.com, pretty simple. But I will post that below. And I hope you're all having a beautiful day. It's gorgeous here. And I look forward to connecting again soon. Bye for now.